to whatever's going on in the band. So let's break this down, Jeff. If you learn a line, let's talk about the way you transcribe. If you learn a line, let's say a bass fill, okay?
Yeah.
Once you've learned the fill, what's your next move with it? Or even when you're learning it, what are you thinking while you're learning it?
I'm thinking about how it relates, because to make it quicker, I'm thinking about how it relates to the chord that it's being played over. I'm thinking, like
that's the first key bit of information.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It's key,
like, is it a pentatonic riff? Is it and it'll make it easier for me to learn. And I'm thinking very visually as well. I mean, I think about notes and I think about visual shapes on the instrument. But I'll be thinking about how it sounds, how it works in relation to the chord that I'm playing, and then that will help me to then apply that in different places. It'll also help me to move it into different keys, and it'll help me to learn it quicker, because rather than going note by note by note by note, I'm thinking, well, that part is a scale. That's a chromatic note leading up to the third or whatever. So I just think pentatonic, and then there's a chromatic bit, and that's a like a fill.
Learning it just note by note by note by note.
It's really laborious.
It's like learning a sentence.
Yeah,
but
letter by letter.
Letter by letter or word by word, and not actually thinking about what the sentence is saying.
Yeah.
I want to go to the shops. It's like thinking I.
Well, yeah. If you had to learn that in a different language, then you wouldn't have any idea of what the meaning of the words were. You'd just be looking at them individually.
There'd just be sounds.
Yeah. So like note names, shapes, patterns, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, I thought you were going there.
I actually thought I was going to fall off. I thought this is going to be great. I almost wished it to happen.
Could you shall I give you a bit of a?
Yeah, I almost just like threw myself on the floor.
If you want, we can arrange that for next week, Scott.
So something like we were talking about. What's the tune called?
Right, so it's Oh What a Night.
Oh What a Night.
So that, I'm thinking about it going up the major scale. It goes to the fifth, and then it goes down, and then it goes back up again.
Yeah. Let's talk about that lick. Do you know the lick?
But there's a lick in the middle of the tune.
That's the lick, isn't it?
That's the lick that we're talking about. So I'm basically thinking it's going up the pentatonic scale, and it's like got the chromatic, which is really strong. That from the second minor third, major third.
Yeah.
Like leading.
Are you thinking when you're learning it?
Yeah.
Say you're thinking.
Yeah.
That's the lick.
I'm thinking pentatonic sliding.
But what are you thinking before that? Are you thinking? What's the root note? What are you thinking? What's the chord?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it's A flat. Yeah, and I also think with that particular one as well. So I know that the top note is right. It's the leading note to the actual main riff. If it lands on the C, which is a semitone below, which is exactly because it wants to resolve to the root note of the whole piece, which is in D flat.
Because my thought process would be even before. I'm thinking it's a pentatonic. Now, obviously, I know my pentatonic, so I instinctually know that is a pentatonic when I'm learning it, and it's gonna help me learn it. But right from the first bit of information that I want to know is what chord is that line over? What's happening? What the band playing? Yeah. Because if I don't know that, then I don't know what is that in relation to? Is it an A flat pentatonic?
Yeah.
No, it is an A flat major pentatonic. But it's really important that when you're learning these lines, is that you know what the underlying chord is. This gives you the information that if I know that that's an A flat dominant 7 and this line is on top of that A flat dominant 7, that means if next time I'm in a situation and there's an E flat dominant 7, I can use the same line.
And it goes up to the third and up to that G.
I can, it's a dominant 7 chord. Yeah. Oh, well, I use that on that song. Well, now I can, it's an E flat dominant 7.
And it will
just
also
transpose it to that key.
And it also helps you recognise this pattern when you hear it in other places. So this is in Forget You, the CeeLo Green tune. It's very similar. They're actually ever so slightly different, okay? But pretty much it's the same line. It's certainly been inspired by, to say the least. It's a really, very similar pattern, and it's plugged in to that tune there. Yeah. So then hearing it, identifying it, playing it back becomes really quick, as opposed to if you're thinking note by note by note.
Yeah. So as Jeff said, you need to know that underlying chord of anything, whatever you're playing. If it's,
that, you really think about that pentatonic feel, that boom, bam, bam, you know, like it really sounds pentatonic. You know?
Yeah. And what I'm doing there is, I know it's going from an A flat major to a D flat major to chord 6 to chord 3 to chord 4 to chord 1 to chord 2 to chord 5 to chord 1. You know, I'm not just, my point is, you know, learning this, that's fine. You know, but you want to learn you want to know what's happening underneath the actual chords, because knowing that information means you can get what you've just learned, what you've just transcribed, and transfer it to a ton of different stuff.
And come up with your own bass lines.
And come up with your own bass lines, yeah. So that's the first thing, understanding what's happening underneath. Then I would say absolutely is, what is it actually built from? So once you know it's in this case, we know it's got a dominant 7 underneath, an A flat dominant 7, right? Yeah. Once you've got that down, then it's okay, what's the actual lick built from? And in this case, it's a pentatonic. Yeah, it's the A flat major pentatonic, you know. And that's given us another bit of information. This means every time I hear a dominant chord like that, I can use a major pentatonic on that dominant chord. And I'm learning that because I've learned that information from learning that lick. So, for instance, you could take, if you look at something like you could do something like the chicken, but let's just take a F dominant groove. Okay, now I'm thinking, right, I want to use that same riff, right? So that was the lick that we used, that we learned. Now I'm on an F dominant. I absolutely know I'm on an F dominant. I can use that same line. So over that.
Break it up and just use part of it, because it's kind of two parts. You've got the ascending pentatonic bit, and then you've got the bit. So you could just do that bit. So just have the first bit.
So you could take the information that you've learned. So.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then you create your own lines, or you can put the first bit in. Yeah.
So that just using that to the third, and then you could go that bit there. So.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, I like that, yeah. And you can practice that for like an hour, couldn't you? You know.
Yeah, this is it. Just sort of like taking that information and then using little bits from it. Okay, that works. And then, as we said, it's built, that A flat was built from the major pentatonic, so then let's use the major pentatonic over the F pentatonic.
Yeah.
You know, you can use it and just experiment with it. And just like I'm fluffing it all over the place, but it's just an experimentation process. And then you can use, as we said there, up here. Yeah, sort of like all over. And I'm getting all of that information from that original line. So I think what we're saying here is when you do learn something, make sure you first understand that underlying harmony, the underlying chord.
Yeah.
And then you should be looking at, okay, what's it built from? In this case, it was a major pentatonic. It could have been a major scale. It could have been a minor scale. But in this case, it was a major pentatonic scale over that dominant chord. Then we're using that. We're shifting. We're playing just a dominant groove in F. And then we're trying to use, first of all, the lick. Then we're using little snippets from the lick. And then we're using not the lick, but what the lick was built from. We're using the actual scale and messing around with that. And then from that, you can mess around with your phrase. So you can take the actual, the lick itself, and you could actually just change the actual phrase of it.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, where you're getting the actual lick, but using it in, you're changing the actual timing of it.
Absolutely, Scott. Yeah, I think that's really great advice. And I mean, all of this stuff might sound quite complex to some people, but this applies even if you're learning really simple bass lines. If you're learning the bass line to My Girl, don't just think about the shape. Well, think about the shape, but also think about it being a descending fifth.
Yeah.
And what that sounds like.
What is it?
Yeah, and that's actually another pentatonic line.
But,
which is just going straight to the major pentatonic scale. So exactly, yeah. So essentially, all this language is out there for you to learn.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a line. It could just be like a.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's the thing I'm thinking about there. I'm thinking down a fourth.
Yeah. But what we're really trying to do in the academy is to help people go beyond just learning songs in isolation, from all the other information. And the players that learn how to apply this stuff to their own music, how to recognise it, how to use it, really just go so far. So we'd really encourage everybody to work on
do you do this all the time? I do this all the time.
Well, yeah,
I've been learning. I got this riff. I think it was from Jameson.
Right. Okay.
Right, check this out. This is really cool, right? So it's a descending. And I learned it a couple of weeks ago, and then I've been trying to just sort of like shoehorn it in everywhere, just to get it in, just to get it into. And what it is it's really, really simple. It's just D, so it's like over a D dominant 7, and there's a real cool trick to it. So it goes D, A, F sharp, which is root 5, 3, but then you go on this hand. You play an open D, and then down to the C,
which is the 7. That's every note is a chord tone there. Every single note that you're in there, and it sounds really hip because of the way that it's played. And that sounds great. That's an awesome film.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it is it's actually it's really easy to get under your fingers, but it actually sounds like you're covering a lot of ground. But it's because I'm using that open D. So if you're like. That's another one.
And you shoehorned in that bit as well, because that's sort of in your ear at the minute.
Yeah, because we've been going.
Yeah. This is how it's all put together, guys. And I think it kind of seems really overwhelming when you see someone like Scott who's ripping it up and playing all these kind of cool fills. But after a while, you do start to recognise phrases, and it makes everything.
Everything that you hear me play, I've just done it over and over and over and over again in like a zillion different keys. Like I couldn't do it with that D, because obviously it's got an open D in it, and it's specific to that. But just like I've been doing that using it of the chicken. And then it goes to the E flat.
Yeah, over the D7 to the G.
Yeah, every time it goes to the D.
Yeah.
I'm using them. Great lick. And then this one. I've actually stolen that from Michael League.
He's a good person to steal from. But if you just learn that riff and you couldn't put it in context, you wouldn't have any idea how to use it going forward. So that's the key message, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that and it's just that, once you've, like, for instance, let's take this, just like last week, I was watching a Michael League video and he used that. It's over a D7, right? Instantly, because of my experience, within sort of like 5 seconds, I've learnt the line and I absolutely understand what it's made from.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, starts on the
You're
sixth.
not sat there working out of his
To the third, right?
Yeah.
Gives that lower third and then moves up chromatically. Right? So I'm just framing it for you so you still understand that I have to go through this process of learning it. Like, even though I listen to Michael League playing, okay, I've got it, yeah, I understand what it's made from, I can phrase it correctly, etc., etc. There's no way that I'm going to use that the next time I play if I don't just rinse it over and over again and start using it on, for instance, like a chicken or something like that.
It takes so long for these lines to come out in your playing. You've really got to keep...
I think my point here is if you really hear a line and you truly want it in your playing, you've got to play it just to death. Play it to death, play it over and over, play it in different keys. Take something like the chicken or something like that, use it in that. Take something like chameleon, use it in that. Just find places you can use it. Every time that chord hits, shoehorn it in, get used it. If you're an Academy member, obviously we've got the play along library that's got loads of play alongs in there. Go through, find, if it's like a dominant style run or a dominant style fill, find, a piece with a load of dominant chords, and every time you see a dominant chord, just jam it in there. And obviously you don't play like this live, but in reality, this is how you'll actually learn the riff. It's like when you learn a new bit of vocabulary, just going full circle and taking it back to when I was saying that music is a language. Say, let's take the word, like something that a kid wouldn't use regularly. I'm trying to think of, or something I wouldn't use, like a large word like... Anti-disestablishmentarianism. Maybe something I can pronounce.
How about vegetarian?
Prejudice. Okay, the word prejudice. Okay, so like a kid won't automatically just hear that word and then start using it over and over. They're going to have to use it a certain amount of times and then it's sort of like absorbed in their vocabulary and then they can use it, the word prejudice. Okay, so same thing. You've got to use and use and use it until it gets really fluid in what you're doing and then you'll use it, use it in the same way. My kid, Story, is doing the same thing. He'll learn a new word and automatically he'll just start using it over and over and over again. Naturally, got to be careful what word that is. Because he's trying to, even this is like subconsciously trying to, soak that into his vocabulary. And we can do exactly the same thing with our bass lines.